What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and today this is the Early Bird Artcast number 49. And what is up, everybody? Oh no, I did it again. DonkeyJawProjects.com, and today this is the Early Bird Artcast number 49. So you heard that twice. Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I wish there was a way to stop that quicker. Like you have to be on the button to stop the video from going. I guess I could just not start the video yet, but anyways. It's escape artist the art early bird artcast number 49, getting close to 50. That's kind of cool. And today we're gonna just hang out, make comics. I got a lot of work to do. I got I have to fill these 2 pages with comics, which this is Terra and the Pterodactylus. And here's the cover. It's all mostly roughed in, but there's some stuff that's really rough. So I'm going to kind of try to go straight in with inks because I got to get this done. But I'm going to have to do a little extra penciling here and there too. So, but anyways, we've already got Creed on, and we've opened up the chat to invite other people on as well. But now that Creed's on, what's going on, man?
Just digging into some art because you motivated the hell out of me all week with your crazy videos. You're just taking off.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm working hard at it. I've come to a place where I realize that YouTube and comics is my main digs. So I'm going to just focus on that hardcore.
Right on.
So, yeah. And, all right, let's see. So I'm going to point this camera down so you can it looks like I'm at least doing some work. Yeah. So what are you up to today, man?
Well, I'm starting my next villain. I just did the first 2 in my second 100, and I'm planning on work. If it works out, I'm going to do Slythe from Thundercats.
Nice. So I know that even though I haven't seen any videos from you, you've got plenty in store. I'm assuming, right?
Oh man, I have this giant folder full of art process videos for lots of art I haven't even posted yet. But yeah, it's more or less all of a sudden I had the bottom drop out of me having any time to do whatever I felt like doing. So, but I'm yeah. YouTube kind of guilts me. YouTube sits there and with no video today, and I'm like, oh, no video again today.
Yeah. Does your so your job kind of takes you're not able to fit anything in during a regular work day, or?
I have little bits of time, but the thing is, right now the job is kind of taxing my everything. So
yeah.
it's kind of like I do my job, then I just come home and just go, oh, I'm glad I survived that, and then and I have to go again tomorrow, and not in a horrible way or anything, but it just the energy levels for everything else are very low. That's the problem right now.
Yeah, I know how that goes for sure.
Yeah, working 8 hours will drain the life energy rate more than a vampire.
So you have kind of a pretty physical job, right? From what I know.
Yeah. It's pretty somebody you go by oh, this guy needs 3 water heaters. Okay, here's 3 water heaters. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, same with me. Sometimes it depends. It's kind of become more of a driving job in the last few years, but I used to be in the warehouse more, and every time I have a day where I'm in the warehouse mostly, I'm realizing how much of an old man I'm becoming.
oh, yeah, that's definitely me. Yeah, I'm am I really 300 years old? I feel it's what? Yeah. I thought I was younger than that, man. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm just trying to focus on art, and all I really, if I get a little bit of time, mostly I've been just trying to fix up my store, and my lifeline right now is Instagram. I keep that alive. I post every day, but even to repost those to somewhere else is minutes that would make me late for work. So
Right.
yeah, it's just tight. It's not. It sounds like an excuse, but what I don't like when people call reasons excuses. That's an actual reason. It's something that's going on that I'm trying to, like Gary Vee always said, and I like to take this advice. Look at what is going on instead of what you want to go on, and deal with what's going on to get to what you want going on.
Mm, for
So I
sure.
can't just say, no, I'm not really busy. No, I am. Like, time is tight. Okay. If I take that as a fact and try to work with that, I have a better chance of fixing it than just saying, no, time isn't really tight, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what a
Yeah.
lot
No
of people
doubt.
do. And then you're kind of in a dreamland, because if your time is actually tight and you're just treating it like it's not, it's not going to work. Yeah. You're not.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
So I'm
It,
just kind of taking as a given and jumping in when I can. Like today, I'm hoping to get full pencils done on slides.
it's awesome.
And,
Um,
and this year, I'm so far, it's just a plan, but so far, I'm going to jump in and do the 100 days making comics.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I didn't take your advice though, and like start today. I'm like, I can't start today because I don't want the first half of it to be about writing the comic. I want to have it all set out, and then it's all going to be art and layout and design.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with making it writing a comic, but it is definitely, especially if you're doing videos and stuff, it's definitely more interesting when you see people actually working on comics.
Oh yeah. Well, and plus, I'm not. I don't know of anybody else who's done this, but I'm going to do it. I'm treating it like it's a show. It's not about my comic. This is the comic is what's going on on the show. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing a show of 100 episodes is what my thing is. I'm doing. So I need to have cool stuff for everything. I can't be like, well, I have this idea and I wrote that down, and then I scribbled that out and I wrote another. That's not a good episode. This that needs more car chases and explosions. That's what that episode is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kesh kind of tried to do that, but then he didn't even come close to completing the 100 days, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to do it as a show, especially if you're doing it every day. But I guess it depends on how you set it up, if it's something you can manage or not.
I think what it's gonna be is I just have to work out templates and graphics and stuff that I'll reuse in every episode.
Hmm.
But I want to make it like like you tuned into a little show. Here's the next show, the next day of how this comic's going.
Right.
More than just just turn on a camera and me talk about it. I want to make a show about it. So, but that's a bigger time investment, big time.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I look forward to seeing it when you're doing it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's just gonna be a small comic. I'm thinking maybe 8 or 10 pages. And I'm the whole reason I thought I could even do this is because what Jeff Lafferty was doing with just doing a panel.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna do even more than that. I'm gonna draw each thing and each background all separately as all elements. And I'm just gonna build a giant pool of elements and then build my stuff out of that.
Gotcha. That'll be
It's kind of a
interesting.
weird way, but it's the thing is I've thrown away a lot of the skills you need for comics, like perspective and cross hatching and texture and all these things I threw away to get to where I want my art. So I'm not good at a lot of that stuff anymore. So I'm going to use what I'm good at as my advantage. So I'm just going to, I'm going to pre-make everything. Sort of how I draw. I draw my figures anyway on as a separate standalone thing. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw all the people that are going to be in my comic. I'll draw them all up, and then I'll draw all the backgrounds, and then I'll just put them together like a sticker book or something. It's going to be cool.
Yeah. Cool. There is definitely people who have done stuff like that. A while back, I was watching a lot of or listening to a lot of podcasts by this guy named Paul Kajeji, and he does a lot of videos now. He actually started getting back into publishing stuff. I mean, he was doing like a webcomic and stuff on Instagram, which was cool. But now he's doing a lot of YouTube videos, and I think he's making a lot of good progress. Peter's friends with him too. A bunch of people know who he is, but he the way he made comics, he did it with Blender. He does like everything with Blender, and that's what his YouTube is about now. It's about Blender usually. But
Oh,
he did
that's
he
cool.
did a lot of stuff with like the 3D modeling Blender program. And he mostly what he would do is he would work out all of his like backgrounds and stuff and like his ships and certain props and stuff in Blender, and then he'd set all that up so that like he could put it like all the shots with the environments. He just already had the environment. He just had to put it at the right camera angle, and then he'd
Yeah,
use
that's
that kind of as his kind of I don't know, like actually he would use those renders actually as comic lines and stuff, but he had a way of doing it that made it look less like 3D, models and more like actually he had drawn it or whatever, which I thought it was interesting. It's definitely a different way of storytelling, but it worked for his purposes, and I
yeah,
really
that's
enjoyed
cool.
it.
That sounds like something sort of what I'm gonna try to attempt.
Yeah.
Or fails in a big catastrophe. Either way, it's going down.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, I hope you start doing putting out some of those videos too that you already kind of have as a backlog.
I have one, like, the first step in making a video is I gather the footage I have, and what I have to do is make a much shorter compressed version of it. So I have to render that out, and I'm just rendering one now. So I'm hoping to I'm working on I figure the next video, the coolest next video I can do is my next villain, because I still have, like, I think 6 left in my first 100 that I haven't done a video for. So Marvin the
Yeah,
Martian is the next dude. So I'm working on it.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we got some people in the chat, which is really cool. What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping in. Daniel Lieber is in here. Thanks for stopping by. Mike Emirates, hey, what's up? Peter Palmiotti, hello, listening while cleaning. Awesome. The Pigeon Milk, what's up? Hey, hey y'all, come over from the Hangout link. Cool. Creed, yeah, Creed was talking about possibly doing the 100 days, Mike. Or he's plans
Oh,
to, but
it's a plan for this year. It is a
it's
plan, and
awesome.
hopefully soon. I'm not sure how long my prep's gonna take, but I want to get all my prep done because I'm prepping for the show. I'm not prepping for the challenge. So
Right.
as soon as I can get the
Awesome.
show ready to go, that's when the challenge is gonna happen.
And you said you wanted to get through the writing part too. How far is that along?
I pretty much it's sort of gonna be sort of a simple kind of this the idea in my head is almost like it's one of those Aesop's fables from
Hmm.
Underdog, like that just kind of story.
Yeah.
So, and it's only going to be 8 pages, so I already have the start and the end, and I just have to work on the little bits in the middle. So I know it's about a medieval knight who has social anxiety. It's going to be cool.
Nice. Yeah, you would think there'd be more stories about that. No.
Yeah, you know.
That's interesting. So let's see. Daniel Ebert, I'm doing the same panel by panel for my future web series. That's awesome. That all sounds interesting to
Right
hear,
on.
like actual panels broken down. That's kind of cool.
I think there are people out there like me that just it was too much of a daunting idea to do the way you normally do a comic, like do pages and design out the panels and like as all as one thing. And I think it's the idea floating around that you can just do each panel and then put it together. That's more bite size. That's something I can probably do. So because I'm not
Yeah,
a comic maker. I'm just an artist. I'm just, I don't usually try to express story and I don't even usually try to pose them in action poses. So like I put no story into my art. I put my story of this is what the character looks like. That's the story. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
gotcha. Yeah. Um, let's see. But I don't know why it kind of chat runs away from me a little bit.
It's a
Cool.
slippery chat today.
It is so slippery. And again, everybody, I already put a link at the top, but I'll put it in again. There, you can feel free to join in and hang out with us live as well as in the chat if you want. Either way, you know, it's fine. But you know, I think it'll be fun to just have a fun little hangout today. That's kind of random. So, and I'd love to get to know some people who I only sometimes see in text, you know, or you know, who maybe watch and stuff and don't necessarily chat too much or whatever, you know. Don't feel pressured though. But there's the link again. Let's see. Pigeon Milk, that will be interesting to see. How's it going to work with camera angles and perspective? So he's talking to Daniel. Let's see. Peter says, skills never leave. You just need to brush up on them. I would say that's true, sir.
That is true. The problem is I don't want to reabsorb skills that'll change my art back. Like, I don't know. I got my art how I want it because of the stuff I threw out. So I don't want to relearn. I just want to not use that stuff, I think.
Awesome.
I'm actually going to do a video about how I got to my style, and I don't recommend anybody doing it the way everything I do. I don't recommend people do it the way I do it. I don't know what that is. But like, I got to my style by throwing skills away. Like, I was like, I could get better at cross hatching, but I hate it. And I don't see the reason to do it in a modern comic because, like, it was always to give, like, tone. Well, now you can get a world-class colorist, and you don't need hatching. That's the line of thought I had. So I just stopped hatching of any kind and took it out of my art, and my art like improved to my taste. My art like hugely improved as soon as I did that. So,
gotcha.
Like I threw skills away to get my art how I want it. I don't recommend that. Don't throw skills away. You should learn every skill you can learn, but I threw a lot of them away.
So it seems like it's more. Hey guys, what's up?
What's up, man?
It seems like it's more of a stylistic choice then, because you know colorists are basically adding the value that cross hatching is, and you know I understand that. I mean, whatever fits for your style is going to work. You know, that's what you want to do. That's a good thing about art is, you know, it's whatever fits your style.
It's from the artist's eye to the artist's hand, right on.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up, man? So you're Kevin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I got your link from the Twitter chat, the Twitter DMs.
Sweet. Yeah, and it looks like your logo there is DG Comics. So apparently, obviously, especially since it's from the chat, you make comics and stuff. Do you write or draw, or what do you do?
Yeah, I'm the artist and creator for Apollo, Chariot of the Gods. It's going to be coming out to Indiegogo, hopefully around April. I went through Indiegogo a couple months ago, and it didn't fund, unfortunately, because of the time. I didn't really build up enough on it, but I'm going to relaunch it come April.
Awesome. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And what's that about?
Classic superhero, you know, Superman type character. The story is he's, you know, Earth's greatest hero. He's lost in space. He's powerless, and he's a prisoner. So as he's in space, you know, 20 years have passed on Earth, and Earth has become this dystopian wasteland. So he's fighting to get back to his family, back to Earth, and try to solve and try to fix the problems that are happening right now out there. Classic hero journey, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. That sounds cool, man.
Thanks. Yes, I'm working on the Lone Wolf anthology as well with Doug. I'm doing a story with Joey, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I haven't actually announced it at all yet, but I'm going to be doing some work as well. Actually, with Doug Garrett, he's going to be writing it, and I'm going to be. He's putting on. He did this comic. If you guys don't know, he did this comic called Lone Wolf, and he did an Indiegogo that successfully went through, and you know, he's getting it printed or getting ready to get it printed and stuff now. But now he's going to do an anthology as well, and a lot of people are involved, and I'm going to be involved as well. I forget how many pages. I think it's like something like 8 pages or something, right?
Yeah, it's an 8-page
Everybody's
story.
doing different things.
Yeah. Nice and short, but that's kind of how I like them. I've got a short attention span, so 8 pages works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Well, it's a short attention span, but also I just have too many ideas, so I have to make them short if I want to get them all out.
So are you writing, or is he writing?
He'll be writing. I'll be drawing.
Gotcha.
Looks
Cool.
like he's got a pretty interesting story involving some like crazy monsters and stuff, and kind of like Japanese type monsters, I think. So it's gonna be
he was talking about a samurai, wasn't he?
Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where it's going. He said he's got the outline put together, and then he's just gonna he's gonna send it to me when he's all kind of finished up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting on Joey to give me some pages to start working on too. I'm interested in it. It's gonna be cool. I like doing monsters. I like doing horror and supernatural stuff. It's always fun. Always the fantasy aspect mixed in with reality tends to be a pretty interesting genre, I think.
Yeah. Well, when he approached me about it, I was like, I'm down to do it, but like from what I've seen so far from his comic, the Lone Wolf comic, I was like, I don't know, like if it's gonna be like kind of cowboys and Indians, like I'm probably not gonna be like interested in drawing that. Like, not that I don't like the concept of the book. It's just as far as like drawing, I like to draw kind of more fantastic stuff. And I told him, I'm like, if it has to do with like monsters or like some kind of fantasy or sci-fi type of thing, I'm down. Cool, let's do it. But I just let him know, and he's like, yeah, we can make that happen. So that was cool.
I'm with you like that. I have to have something I'm interested in. I can draw, you can draw anything, but you're just not going to have your heart into it if it's something that you're not excited about.
Exactly. I kind of felt bad though when I did say that, because I was like, I don't want to, like, he's such a cool dude, and we kind of started a little bit of a friendship. I don't want to like say no,
Oh yeah, that's how they get you, man. You become friends and you feel bad.
Yeah.
It's funny. Doug is actually me and Doug live like 45 minutes from each other. We're from the same state, and he's from a county, a surrounding county from where I live. So I didn't realize he was so close. There's actually, I think him and Jeff. I think Jeff is also a native to where we live at.
Okay, which Jeff?
Jeff Lafferty.
Lafferty?
Is it Lafferty? The one he was the artist for Lone Wolf, I believe.
Oh no, different Jeff. Okay, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't remember the guy's name who did the art for it.
I could be wrong.
Cool. That's awesome.
I could be wrong. Yeah, it's cool, man. Everybody's, it's funny how far we are from each other, but then how close we are. Because you see Twitter is like this massive, expansive landscape, and then you find people that have the same interest, and they're like 45 minutes from you. Doug Tenaple lives like an hour from me, and it's just like, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Antonio Bryce is like 45 minutes from where I live, the writer for Brand, and it's just funny. There's so many people that live close to me.
That's awesome. I don't think any of them live close to me. I don't know.
You probably got tons of people that's near you. You just don't know it.
Yeah, that's true. I got like a lot of people actually, I guess from Alterna probably are kind of close to me because I'm in Connecticut. So
okay.
I know Peter's up here, and a bunch of the people from Alterna are kind of in this somewhat area. So
I thought Peter was from Canada. I thought he was Canadian.
No, he's from Maine. I think he lives in New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah, I think he mentioned that in one of his streams. But I always thought he was from Canada. I thought he was I don't know, it was weird. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, but I actually heard somebody say this week, last night I was watching some videos with my wife, and Somebody was saying you'd be surprised how many people think that Maine is Canada. I've never heard that before, but
I'm not a bit surprised. I'm actually a little bit disheartened that there probably is a large percentage of people who don't know where Maine's at or what hemisphere or what country it's associated with.
I definitely know what's in Canada and what's not because I am.
Right now, I'm like 2 hours from the Canadian border right now. So I was actually probably 10 miles from the Canadian border 2 days ago.
Gotcha.
I was tempted to go across the border, but then I decided I got bored and lazy. Decided I wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel you. Cool, man. So do you have any is this your first comic, or do you have other stuff that you've done, or?
I've been published a couple of times through a small publisher. The first book I ever drew, I never had done comics before. I always kind of just sketched around and never completed anything. So I had a coworker like 2010. He had a story, a zombie story that he wanted to illustrate, and he gave it to me. And had never drawn a comic, so everything was new to me. Did that. It did decent, for an indie publisher. He sold all the issues he had. I think he only got like 200 issues. But, we sold them at the cons and stuff. And then I kind of ran across another indie publisher at was it the Louisville Convention? I can't remember. DerbyCon, that's what it was, in Kentucky. And I got picked up to do another book for this small indie publisher. And during the process of that graphic novel, I did another little small one-shot for their convention. So I've got 3 small books published through indie publishers. That's all I've done so far. So this Apollo book is mine completely, 100%. Of course, I had a writer help me on the script of it, but yeah. So I've only got a less than a handful of books under my belt.
Wow. Well, that's pretty good though. A lot of people a lot of people say they're comic artists and they don't even have one book. So
I barely call myself a comic artist as it is. I just figured at this point, at my age, I'm gonna just start doing my own stuff that I can maintain and control, unless the deal is good enough.
Gotcha.
I mean, the lone wolf stuff is all spec work right now, but at this point, I'm just kind of interested in doing some more small things to get out there, just get stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And Doug seems like a cool enough guy. I'm actually working on another anthology at the same time for Tales Beyond the Gate, and I kind of put myself in a situation there by taking on 2 small anthologies, but I've got plenty of time to do it. And the way Doug's deal is pretty sweet. We get to maintain the print files, and we can print the book, and that's always cool to have more stuff to put on your table when you do conventions and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I haven't even paid a lot of attention to what he's offering as far as anything. I just was excited he asked because I'm just working on comics anyways, and I think it's good experience to kind of work with a writer, which I haven't done. I have done it, but I've never done any work with a writer to completion yet. So I'm definitely interested in I do a comic every month. So I'm and they're small comics and stuff, but so it's as long as I can kind of fit into what I'm doing, I'm good.
Well, it's good, I think, in this situation, because being that he has given us access to the print files and we can reprint this book pretty much unlimited. I mean, or of course he owns the characters and everything, and that's part of the deal for him. But most publishers that I've ever seen tend not to give you that kind of deal to where you can print as much as you want of the book. They usually make you pay, or they provide you copies at a discount or whatever. Right. And that kind of sucks, because for me, if I did a book, I'd like to be able to have access to it and, you know, print my own and without having to incur additional costs, you know. If I'm going to pay for the print run, I should be able to retain the profits from all the books I sell without paying somebody else, you know.
Yeah. We did a lot of people who kind of watch my stuff are involved in the 100 Days of Making Comics group started by Kevin Cross, and we put on an anthology a couple years ago, I guess now, and we're actually in the middle of doing a second anthology right now, and and the way we ended up doing it was the people they were able to get like there was a certain amount of copies. I think I could actually count them because I still have most of my copies. I got 2, 4, 6. So it looks like I got about 8 copies, or maybe 9, maybe 10. I don't know. I can't remember how many I got rid of. It might have been 10, but I got something like that many copies of the anthology that I can sell. And then there was like we were able to buy them at cost when we did the Kickstarter and stuff. Like we could do that. So there was kind of that aspect. So we kind of had a pretty good deal, I think, going on with that, you know.
That tends to be the deal. They either give you comp copies or they let you get a discount on printing. And you know, I mean, the discount printing is not a bad thing. But I don't know, to have the ability to go say print, like especially for like the alternate deal, you know, you can print off them for like cheap, you know. But I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad deal to be able to print, you know, at cost for them. That's kind of how I was with this last indie publisher, but ended up being their cost was ridiculous. It ended up being like costing me like $5 or $6 to print through them, and then my sell price is only $10. So basically, I'm just breaking even on what I'm selling. End up not really making any money off that. That's a whole other issue right there with that publisher. I don't even want to get into it with them, but you know, I can print overseas for like pennies.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, is there any like, do you have any kind of website or Instagram or something where that shows off your work, or I guess maybe just your Twitter, something that I can kind of let people know about?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter, either Apollo Novel, or you can find me at Kevin Stewart on Twitter.
Cool.
That's pretty much where I lurk. I hang out. I don't have a website. I know it's 2019. Everybody and their mama's got a website, but I have yet to get a website set up.
You don't need it.
I know. I'm kind of hating to do a website anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I have a website. I've had one for years. I don't know if it's helping me or not, but I have it, so I'm going to just keep going with it.
I mean, nowadays, how often do you go to somebody's website to view their information? It's usually Twitter or some kind of social media outlet that you follow and track people on, you know. I don't think I've ever, last time I've been to somebody's actual website to look at their art, I couldn't even tell you. You know, nowadays it's fast, immediate access, and Twitter tends to be, and not even so much, I guess Instagram too, or as well, but yeah, it's all social media nowadays. Websites are falling behind the wasteland, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still a purpose for them, and it can be used, but yeah, I definitely see your point, because sometimes I wonder, like, do I really even need to have this? But it's just easy because I already have it, and it's easy to, you know, do whatever I want with it. So it's not like a big deal.
Yeah,
I do get a lot of visitors though. Like when I look at my analytics, I see, you know, I get a decent amount of unique views every month. So you know, there's something to it. That's where people can read my comic too. So it's a good thing to have that, you know.
Well, there you go. If you've got, that's a good idea to have. If you got a webcomic going on, definitely. Have you looked into? Speaking of webcomics, have you looked into Webtoons?
Yeah, I've definitely looked into it. The thing with Webtoons, I think it's an awesome site, but I think it's a different culture than the kind I'm from. Like I'm, you know, from the '90s Image Comics and Marvel and DC and stuff, and I like long form, traditional style comics generally. So like to put something like that on webtoons, I don't think it really works quite as well.
Yeah, you
But
definitely have to do some modification to your paneling to make it work on their site. But I mean, you can make money off of it. They're actually, and they're kind of starving for our kind of art on that site because it's all, was it Singapore or I can't remember which country that's housed in. It's I think it might be Singapore or maybe Thailand or Philippines or something like that. But their fan base is all over there, so they don't have much exposure to the Western style arts like comic books and superheroes and stuff. So it's kind of like a good time, it's like a little niche to get into webtoons. But you become a featured artist and you end up getting paid. They actually pay you to post on there, and you retain all your rights to the artwork, and they have the ability to market it. And of course, they make products and mugs and T-shirts and stuff off of it, and they make money off that. But they still pay you as a featured artist. Now the workload's hard; it's quite a bit. You have to post a lot and do it on a regular basis. But I've been looking at it. I just haven't got enough stuff to put up there yet for my book because I'm like you. I'm used to the regular comic panel page, and to do all that, then convert it to webtoons, it's a lot more work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not counting it out or anything. I definitely keep my eye on it and stuff. Just Jason Brubaker seemed to do pretty well on there.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was a lot of work and stuff.
Well, that's kind of where I came across it too. Was one of his podcasts. I think it was Jason Brubaker and the guy who does Space Boy and another book, Michael Regina. I follow him on Facebook. That I never go on anymore. But those guys are like full-time webtoons artists, and man, they make like almost $2,000 a month just doing that. If some make even more than that. Some people just make tons of money on that site.
That's pretty cool.
That seems to be my problem. I can't seem to monetize my stuff online. Like I've got a Patreon and I've got like $1 coming in each month. But I don't see how everybody else does it. That's my biggest thing. If I could monetize my online presence like that through Patreon, it would. I don't know. I'd love to have that. It'd be awesome. I'd love to be able to focus on art 100% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is a lot of people don't do it. They try. A lot of people are trying to crack that nut, and it's not. It's not easy. Like you say, everything, no matter what, there's like no trick to make it easy. It's all, no matter what it's going to be, like a lot of hard work. So
hard work and luck.
Yeah, there's luck to it, but you have to be prepared to take advantage of the luck. So that's where you got to have the hard work in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like if the if the good luck, YouTube and Twitter and social media gods were to shine down on me right now, I might not be quite ready. I don't have enough like books that are worth selling a lot of or whatever. Most of my stuff is almost like experiments and stuff so far. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Trying to find a foothold.
I've been using my website mostly for that. Actually, it's Mike Emmerich that got me the idea because he opened his store, and I was like, I was planning on opening mine for a long time, and he opened his first, so I was like, I gotta open it now. And just having a store open on your website will make you put time into that, and it gives you exposure, and people can buy stuff. If you can connect the audience to the store is the whole trick, but it's cool when somebody comes by and actually likes your art enough to buy something. That's cool.
Oh yeah, it's a great feeling. I love that. That's why I like doing conventions so much. I've not been able to do them in a couple years because of my job, but when I was doing conventions, I had a blast. I'd always be worn out by the end of the day, just exhausted from talking to people. But it was always fun because seeing people, exposing people to your work face to face is always fun. And always scary too,
Yeah. It's great and brutal.
Yeah, it is. But you gotta be tough enough to handle it. You know. Luckily, I've not had anybody critique my work to my face, which I don't care if they do. I mean, it's perfectly fine. But I'd rather somebody be truthful about it than just be polite about it. You know.
Yeah.
I kind of know what my faults are. I'm just trying to work on those. But yeah, it's interesting landscape that artists have to, you know, travel through for trying to make a living off this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm looking through your Indiegogo thing, and you definitely got the skills. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I think my problem with Indiegogo this last time was I launched it, and I took like 3 weeks of promotion, and then launched it, went live, and just couldn't get enough traction. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, is building that traction up for the next couple months, and then launch it again. Doing this anthology, working with Doug, and should help get it out there more, you know. I do believe these 2 books I'm working on are going to be going to well, I know Tales Beyond the Gate is going to Indiegogo in February, and then I don't know when. I think Lone. I don't know when Doug's is going to go for sure. I'm not 100% on that. So
yeah, I'm not sure either. So let's see.
So let me ask you a question. Are you with what's your idea? What's your thoughts on the Comicsgate aspect, the Comicsgate movement?
Pertaining, like, just all, like, in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think do you support it, or do you have qualms with it? Do you have an idea where it may be going in the future?
Well, I guess I just don't pay much attention to it anymore. I kind of did when it was like a lot of things were happening, and kind of when Ethan was kind of first doing his well, I shouldn't say, he was in the midst, I think, of doing Cyberfrog or whatever, and as far as the Indiegogo goes and all that stuff. And my biggest thing that I tend to always say about it is that I'm glad that voice has come into be just being there, because it hadn't been for so long. But at the same time, I don't necessarily agree with all of the Comicsgate stuff. But I agree with some of it for sure. You know, I'm a Christian, and I tend to lean more conservative, and that kind of thing. When you're that, you kind of feel, when you're in the comic industry, you feel like you're alone a little bit, or at least that's how I used to feel. Now I feel like there are some people, a lot of people out there who are a little bit more towards that, those kind of things. And so it was nice. It was nice to hear, another voice out there. But at the same time, I don't think I'll ever be super into Comicsgate, because, like, I like the ideals, but I just don't like the name of it and the label. Like, even just the name by itself, to me, it invites kind of this kind of tension, and it invites like a divisive conversation, and so I don't think it's even possible to kind of get away from that, even just because of the name of it. That being said, I've gotten to know people a little bit here and there in the Comicsgate community, and these are all, like, I've been involved in the comic book community online for a long time, and a lot of these people in the Comicsgate community are people I've never even come across. It's like they came out of the woodwork. They didn't want to show their face, maybe, I don't know, until Comicsgate came around. I don't know what it is, and so that's good to a certain degree. Some people seem to be a little bit like they seem to be a little bit abrasive, and I don't tend to, you know, connect too much with them. But like, you know, Doug Garrett, he's to me one of the big kind of good examples of somebody who was kind of involved with the movement, who is a positive person, and you know, so that's why I mess with him, you know,
Yeah.
I have friends who are, you know, liberal. I don't even care if you're SJW, to be honest. Like I don't have any actually issues with any of that stuff. I just, you know, I also don't want to feel like I'm being attacked. That's the thing that kind of gets me interested in Comicsgate is it's kind of it's almost like a defense for people who are being attacked, you know, unnecessarily, and that's the part I don't like. Like when I see Peter Simeti getting attacked for no reason, no good reason, or you know some other people I've seen get attacked, then that's where I start to kind of feel all up in arms and stuff about things.
Yeah, it definitely is I wouldn't say a safe haven, but a community for people to retreat to who are being ostracized or attacked, and at the same time, people who want to just enjoy comics because they're seeing how the big two, you know, well, actually pretty much all the big title comics, the big companies are just slapping their customer in the face and totally taking the legacy of Stan Lee and destroying it. And you're seeing this phoenix of the comic book industry in Comicsgate. Now I agree, the Comicsgate name, it's horrible in regards to it. Just it's got bad vibes to it. You know, it's got that shadow over it, and I don't like it either. But until we come up with something different, you know, it's kind of hard to get away from that. You know, once you get a label going, it's hard to get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. To be honest, I'm not really that involved with it, and I probably never will be. I'm kind of doing my own thing, but I'm involved with it in the fact that, you know, I'm working on like this anthology, and I just think of it as other comic creators that I'm connecting with, you know, and I don't know, I don't really want to get into the controversy type stuff, you know. I'm just trying to do my thing, and one thing too is like, you know, with Comicsgate, it's like it's cool. Like there's the voice out there. Like again, I said that before, but there's, you know, there's like to me, if I want to make a difference in the world, like literally, I want to make comics. Like that's always been my thing, and so like if I want to make a difference in the world, I'm gonna do it through my stories. Not even in a preachy way, but you know, I don't know, like to me, that's the opportunity. That's where I want to focus my time and energy
Yeah.
when it comes to like doing something worthwhile, you know?
Yeah. No, I understand. I totally agree with you. I know what you're saying. Yeah, and that's what it is. We just want to make comics, but it's like Twitter. Twitter keeps the drama going. At the same time, we wouldn't even have this if we didn't have Twitter. So it's a double-edged sword for us. The only thing we can do is honestly get away from the drama 100% and work on comics. What you're seeing the split. I don't know if it's down the middle necessarily, but you're seeing a split of where you've got the comic creators and then you've got the YouTube drama alert, the drama team, and they're keeping it going because they're making money off of it, and nothing wrong with that. But you're not really, I don't know if you're really helping the artist in Comicsgate as much as you are just keeping a light on us, and highlighting the negativity out there. Maybe they're doing a service for us. I don't know. It just seems like that's kind of where we're going. Is if you're not making money off the drama, are you making comics? Ethan Van Sciver, he's doing that. He's doing Cyberfrog, but I don't know. I don't ever get on the other shows and talk to him about it mainly because I haven't asked. But I don't know if I really would want to. I kind of just want to do the art thing.
Yeah.
I don't even have an active YouTube channel. I've got like 13 videos, and everything I do is pretty much jumping on people's live streams and just hanging out, talking comics and drawing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I do love, like, again, kind of the real there's like some really positive initiatives when it comes to Comicsgate, and that's the type of stuff that I can definitely get on board with. But I just don't want to alienate other people as well, because to me, I'm just cool with all people for the most part. And yeah, I don't know. I don't get too deep into it. And as far as the Twitter, like, and certain things like that drag you back in, I feel bad for people, like Doug Garrett or, Peter Simeti, or there's been a lot of others, who, get roped into this crazy drama. And it's like, yes, maybe they have certain opinions that you don't like, but who cares? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like that people should just be able to get along and stuff. And I don't know. I don't like, I do agree with like a lot of things with Comicsgate, as far as like how, people are getting ostracized by, association with all kinds of very random like things that aren't even a big deal at all. And, it's just like, really, like, people need to just chill out and let people be,
Yep. I will say the one good thing is I've met a ton of people through this whole thing. So that's the key. Just getting those networks down and meeting people and making connections. Like, I never knew about Alterna Comics until that whole thing that blew up in the summertime, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go buy his products because I like how he how he rolls. And he's about comics. He's about creators, and he's wanting to help people and get out there in the industry, and you have to respect that. So he's got my support fully, and being that he's coming out with the printer program that he's got going on, I've got a floppy that I'm going to be coming out with sketchbook, so I'm going to need a good printer, and I definitely like the newsprint, so I'm probably be hitting that up sometime this summer.
Yeah, so I saw he put out a video talking about like how it's all set up and stuff. Like, I don't know if he's fully rolled it out yet or not. I haven't watched that video yet, but I'm looking forward to. But that's like on my horizon as well. I have a comic, Corncob Rob, that I just recently finished at the end of last year, and I want to see. The prices seem okay, and the thing is I would definitely have to run like an Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but I'm still contemplating if I'm going to do it. But I really would love to do it through newsprint. Once I found out about that newsprint, I was just like, I mean, I've been wanting to do newsprint since the very beginning, so I'm like, yes.
Well, good news, it is officially live. He said, last I heard, he's got he had 5 people, 5 submissions, so it is live.
I'm surprised a lot of people would jump on quick.
Oh yeah, he's going to probably have more than he even kind of said. He's going to have more than he can handle. So he's like, it's a 2-month window. If you're going to be on this, it's a 2-month window before we can get your books printed. So he's making moves. He's making good moves. He seems like a smart businessman.
Yeah,
and I like watching his videos. They're good videos.
Absolutely. And
Peter
if there's
Simeti,
when it comes to, go ahead.
Peter Simeti is single-handedly saving the comic book industry. It's screaming in the river for help, and Marvel and DC are like, oh, I don't know, I'm wearing my new suit. Peter Simeti's like diving in, pulling them out of the water. Like, he seems like he's the only one that really cares if there's going to be comics in 20 years.
Peter is the Joan of Arc of comics.
Yeah.
He's fighting a one man versus 1,000. He's the Spartans of the comic industry.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. He's really important, and yeah, I mean, I was even before Stan Lee passed, I was like, I think that Peter Simeti is kind of like the new Stan Lee, but he doesn't want to take that title. I get it. I wouldn't. Nobody can really take that, mantle. But it's so true though. Like how much, in fact, even more than Stan Lee to a certain degree, because of how much he cares about comics. Because Stan Lee, as awesome as he was, he wasn't. He even said like he didn't really like. He wanted to become like a novelist and stuff, and I think he kind of found his love for comics, sort of, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he definitely
And,
was a storyteller, that's for sure.
and
What's
plus,
that?
think about it. Okay, Stan promoted comics, but he promoted his comics. Peter Smetty, you ask Peter Smetty, should I buy and name some other comic he has nothing to do with? He'll say, yes, buy that comic. Go to a comic store, buy it. Like,
Yeah,
that's that
true.
extra little bit. He's promoting all comics.
Yeah, because the industry is comic books. It's not alternate. It's not Marvel. It's
Yeah.
comic books. Period. So if you're
Yeah.
not buying comics, comics will go extinct. You know, or they'll
Exactly.
at least go dormant, and it just will be just indie small publishers. Which, hey, if it is what it is, so be it. You know, do we have to have Marvel comics? No, we don't. Comic conventions will still exist, or they still exist, with indie publishers producing their own stories, because that's what people want. They want good stories that are drawn well. And personally, for me, you know, yeah, I'd hate to see Batman go away, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. Things change, and industries change, and businesses change. So, you know, either you get with the times and follow the new path, or you kind of just fade out into existence, you know, from existence. And if Alterna steps up to the plate, like they're doing, and get their name out there, then they will get bigger, you know, the way, if you're smart about it, like he is. But I don't think comics will ever go away. But I think, you know, you're going to have a reforming of the industry for these big companies if they're going to stay afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Batman's not going away. Nothing's going away. But you know, again, like, I think one thing that's interesting that Peter Simeti said is, you know, these comic shops, you know, if they're not, you know, really starting to put a shift and emphasis onto indie comics in their stores, then they're missing the boat, and you know, they're missing the opportunity, because that's where comics is going in the future, you know. And I think I would agree with him, you know.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the comic book stores are unfortunate. They are dying, and it's a shame. I hate that. You know, but it's kind of, I kind of see it as like how we had like music and movies kind of. I know it's a little bit different, but you know, the format changed. It was records, cassettes, CDs. Now it's all digital. You know, the market's changing. You have to kind of go with that. So brick and mortar, you know, companies, brick and mortar shops are kind of going away. Period. Not just the comic book industry, but you're looking at like Amazon, for example, is kind of killing the direct sale market. So, you know, comic books are kind of going to go the same route, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Because who wants to really have to drive somewhere if you can get it shipped to you and have it, you know, a day or 2 days with Prime? I mean, you know, I know you're losing the atmosphere of the comic book shop, and that's a fun place to be. And when I was a kid, I always loved going to my comic book shop. But when you get older, it's like now it's just, you just want the books. I mean, for me, I just want to get the books to me and I can read it and be done with it.
Well, I mean, there is that. I don't think that even comic shops will ever go away. I mean, I think the thing is there's always going to be specialty shops. You know, people are going to always. I mean, there's to me, there's very much a place for both. I love this whole idea of like, you know, how Peter Simeti was talking about, like, you know, as if there's comics on the newsstand. Say you go in your grocery store and they're there, and they're just like they used to be. You know, there's that, but then you can only get so much at a newsstand. You know, and that's what where the comic shops come in. You can get everything there if you want to. So I don't see that function needing to go away. Will it shrink? Well, yeah, it's already shrinking, but does that mean it? The thing is if we were able to get newsstand going, which that's a challenge as well, but if we are able to get newsstand and or digital stuff going, you know, that will actually make the comic shops kind of have more business. You know,
Yeah.
Really the crisis is comics to a certain degree, is comics in general.
Visibility in public is the problem.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's if they're in every gas station and corner store. My first comic was bought in a corner store. I went to get a bag of chips and I looked over. I'm like, what's this? When I was like 7 or 9 or something. Like, and that's how people found comics. Well, how are they supposed to find comics now? That's the problem. Is it's we're all getting older. All the comics fans are getting older, but there's no new ones because they don't see it when they go to buy a pack of gum. They don't go, hey, look, Plastic Man and Spider-Man and Superman.
Yeah, that's how I found my first comic, was the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I that was my favorite thing to do, was go with my grandmother to the grocery store, and while she shopped, I stood at the spinner rack and looked and read the comic books. That was my favorite thing to do. And you have to, I think comic book shops need to bring that, or maybe find a way to do that, you know, outside the comic book shops or even the comic book industry, is put the love of comics back into it. And for the kids, start with the kids. That's the ones who's going to want to, you know, read them, and they're going to read them up to their 30s and 40s, you know, like we are. We still enjoy comics because we liked them as a kid. So
yeah,
you have to reach the kids at a level and put it in places like that. I love the spinner rack. I'm trying to find one myself for the books I've got. But yeah, you're right. Put them out there. There's the distribution of comics has been pretty much just sent to the shops, and the who. I don't even know
if
where
you already know about
the,
if you already know about the shop, then you're not the person they're trying to look for to bring into comics. You know,
exactly. You need to bring in the fresh consumers. You know, the young ones, the kids.
It needs to be out in the public. Like, it has to be visible, just out in the world somewhere. Like, hey, they still make comics, but it's kind of not right now.
It ain't like there's not money in it. I mean, obviously the MCU, you would imagine that with the MCU, the comic book sales would be shooting to the roof.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but you would think you'd get some new users of the book, you know, of comics with that.
Yeah. And I've actually gone into a lot of length talking about all this stuff on the channel here. And it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely a conversation we need to all continue to have. And one of the things that I keep coming back to as I think about this on a pretty daily basis is I just can't help but really just want to look at, you know, how manga does what they do and see what we can learn, you know, from them. And I think they're doing a lot of things right that we haven't been, and that's probably why they're making way more money, you know, on comics than we are, you know.
Yeah, you're right on that. I mean, what little I know of manga, it seems to me, and I could be wrong completely, but it's like the culture of manga is so much stronger for them than it is for comics for us. It's like, in the way they produce them, it's like their soap operas, their entertainment for the majority is through manga, if I'm correct, right? I mean, that's like their
yeah,
TV.
I mean, I don't know that much about the culture, but I know that they're it's definitely way more you know, prevalent. Comics are definitely way more prevalent there than here. But
I mean, their artists are what called mangakas. If I can, I'll probably mispronounce that. But that's like a skilled traded industry over there for people to train and become. And it's like they have a whole studio, and that's their career. You know, that's a profession. Whereas comic artists over here is like a hobby that you turn into a job that makes money. Over there, it's like almost being like a welder, for example. You're that's a skilled trade that's looked highly upon over there.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing something different, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they're doing different. I'll see if I get into it a little bit in a second. I do want to catch up with the chat real quick. Daniel Lieber was saying that he's working on a Medieval Knight as well. I know, obviously, Creed is doing that, so that's cool. Mike is warning me not to put the link in the chat. I understand there could be issues, and if there is, we'll shut it down. But I've seen other people put the link in the chat a lot of times, actually, and I've never seen them have the issues that that Adam had, apparently. So I don't know. I guess maybe, hopefully, that was just some bad luck at that time. I don't know. Daniel talks about using just lines and not cross-hatching. I actually wanted to touch on that as well. So I'm going to get back to that. I just want to get through the chat. Let me actually write that down, cross-hatching. And then, let's see, 11, I don't know, some of this stuff I'm not sure. Oh wow. Let's see. Oh wow, there's a lot of stuff. So let's see. I think that they were asking if you have an Instagram, Kevin.
Yeah. You know what? Let me double check, make sure I'm saying this right, because it's been a little bit since I jumped on there. You can find me on Instagram at Pigeon Milk 70.
Pigeon Milk 70. All right, cool. So I'm going to put the links in the show notes as well for people who are watching on the replay. Mike said, "Comicsgate, abort, abort."
Well, I don't want to get into comics. I just wanted your insight on it, since you're doing the Lone Wolf anthology.
Oh no,
I don't want
to. Nothing is really too taboo here. I've said it many times on my channel. I'm perfectly happy and open to talk about my opinions on Comicsgate, but I'm probably not going to get too deep into it just because I'm not that interested in getting too deep into it. But no problem at all on bringing it up. It's totally cool. Clover Thursday, what's up? I haven't heard that name yet on the chats. Selling at conventions, huh? Cool. Mike says, I support gates in general as well. I like the more decorative ones with ornate iron trim, the kind you'd see in a garden. Yes, I agree. Those are cool.
So Mike's all on board on Gothic Gate.
Yes. Mario says, keep calm and love comics. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be more on the Team Comics side anyways. Peter Simeti's, I love what he does, and he's all about just comics. You don't have to get into all the politics necessarily.
Yep.
Daniel says, I'm Webcomicsgate. I want to bring the Middle Ages to webcomics. Nice. I love all the humor going on. Mike says, politics should be argued on the page. Send the message creatively. All I ever hear is bitching and fighting. See, you're right on the same page as me, buddy. That's what I was just saying earlier. You can hardly talk about comics without the conversation turning to Comicsgate these days. It's a shame. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a conversation that I'm glad started and needed to be. I think it needed to be had, but the lengths to where it has gone is not lengths to where I would like to go necessarily a lot of times.
Yeah.
Make the comics you want to make, leave everyone else alone and do the same. Absolutely. Let it be, right? Like that whole kind of let it be philosophy type of thing. Or live and let live or something like that,
I think that's where Comicsgate got a kind of a bad name from, and it was just people that had an agenda against another agenda, but then, and which is fine. Basically, okay, if you say a comic's going to be Comicsgate, well, okay, we're not going to turn our character into an albino lesbian tomorrow. That's all they were saying, really, is just kind of give you an idea, okay, and the other side will, and that's fine. There's both sides. But then there's all these trolls popped on, and they started wishing people to get cancer in their private parts and all this other like back and forth. Those people are horrible people that will join any club and be the one that's screaming horrible things. So
yeah, there's always room for trolls out there.
People started to say, "Oh, Comicsgate is about trolls." No, Comicsgate kind of got jumped on by trolls, like absolutely everything else that ever happens.
Yep.
That's a good point. Let's see. I'm beyond help. My art is too crappy. Oh, jeez. I won't even say who said that. Practice every day. I do almost every day. Cool. Peter had to shower, so good. Stay clean, man.
Yay for Peter showering. Right on. We didn't want to mention it, Peter, but you really needed that. No, I don't know.
Let's see. Mike Emmerich says, comic shops are getting merged into bookstores now. I've seen several bookstores, especially in malls, with massive comic sections. They're starting to sell single issues as well. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, that's kind of where comics are sold probably for the most part. Unfortunately, the bookstores are going down too these days. But
Yep. That's the whole brick and mortar thing.
yeah.
This might be a Canadian thing, but I think they should put comics in Tim Hortons. Then you can get them with the drive-through, and you can get a coffee, a donut, and a comic. I think.
Oh my gosh, what is up with Tim Hortons? That's all I hear about.
It's just they're everywhere. You can see one Tim Hortons from the next one. That's all. They're just everywhere.
It must be a northern thing because where I'm from, they don't exist. So I guess the equivalent of a Tim Hortons where I'm at is probably like a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks, maybe.
Yeah. It's just our brand of Starbucks or whatever. But yeah, it only takes off above the border. I don't know. I really like their stuff, but we had a Dunkin' Donuts. We had a Dunkin' Donuts open, and nobody liked their coffee and donuts because they weren't like Hortons. So I don't know. It's just I guess what you're used to.
Yeah, we had a Dunkin' Donuts open up in my hometown, brand new facility, built from the ground up, brand new shop. It closed within a year because the manager was selling drugs at the back.
Oh, yeah, that's bad for business.
They shut the whole place down. They didn't fire him. They just shut the whole building down. It was crazy. Like, they ain't playing around.
Well, they were like, well, we can arrest this guy, but then the next guy will do it. So, no,
yeah.
We're shutting her down.
I think they had a question about the white powder on the donuts, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some kind of crazy going on there.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, Dunkin' Donuts isn't all that great anyways. I mean, everybody's got their own opinions, but I actually like McDonald's coffee better than Dunkin' Donuts. But.
I always liked the guy from the commercials that was passing himself in the hall. I feel like that a lot. Time to make the donuts. I made the donuts. Okay.
I'm sorry. It wasn't Dunkin' Donuts. It was a Krispy Kreme. I'm way off. It was a Krispy Kreme that got shut down. Sorry. Sorry to Dunkin' Donuts out there.
Don't worry. I'm sure there's people flinging dope out of a Dunkin' Donut somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Mario says Comicsgate got a lot of attention, but seduction of the innocent almost killed comics with the help of the government. So comics will survive. That's a good point as well.
Yeah. Yeah, if comics can survive that, they'll be able to survive this.
Yeah. Mike says, Dom would be a great person to talk to about manga. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I should chat with him. I haven't really heard much from him these days, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't run in the same circles. Mike says they focus way more on a uniform style so they can sell stories over art. That's interesting. It's funny because I'm so inspired by their art though, because their art it really, I guess it depends on which title, but you know, some titles are absolutely beautiful when it comes to the art in manga. I mean, I'm a huge, as everybody or a lot of people probably know, I'm really into like the new Alita movie that's coming out, and the art in that comic is pretty amazing. I mean, there's parts that I don't love, like the kind of cartoony. So there's like some cartoony robots and stuff, which is kind of weird. Doesn't even really fit very well. But other than that, like the art is just beautiful in that comic.
Yeah, I grew up in the '80s, so my exposure was the rentals at the like Hollywood Video and places that always go get their manga, anime movies, and yeah, their artwork always got me. It was so simple. Then it's so detailed at the same time. That's what always caught my attention.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely. Yeah, the same with me. Like just the stuff I was able to get a hold of, you know, because you know it wasn't as prevalent back then as it is now, in America at least. And so like the only thing I ever saw was like Akira. I saw like Fist of the North Star. And, Alita was one of them as well, and you know, but it was few and far between. And then there's like stuff like Sailor Moon, which at that time I was just a boy, and I'm not really interested in Sailor Moon, you know. But nowadays, I don't know, I might check it out. But
I remember it was not like 90. '93, I went to my local comic book store, and I always like to go to the boxes on the bottom because I was always into the indie books, you know, and because they're they were cheap too. And I ran across a book. It was called Striker, and it was really cool. It had awesome artwork in it, and so I had it. I still got it actually. Now fast forward like I don't know, 15 years, 20 years later, and I'm watching on I think it might have been Netflix a show called cartoon called Spriggan. It was the exact same book. It was the comic. It was the movie version of the comic that I had. I thought it was just totally random that I had this #1 issue of an indie book, and they had a movie come out like 20 years later. Exact same thing. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a cool thing about manga. Is almost every decent manga has like a animated movie, which is crazy.
What's funny on that is the guy who did the translations for the book in '92 is the same guy I'm drawing the story for the Tales Beyond the Gate anthology.
Oh, that's awesome.
Totally just crazy. It's coincidence, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's neat.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, so as far as manga, like the stuff that we can kind of learn, the things that kind of keep sticking out to me are the fact that with manga, this is directly kind of opposed to what we've seen out of like the big two and stuff generally, is with manga you got kind of you got a full story, and you can easily watch you can easily collect the whole arc of the story because it starts at #1 and ends at whatever volume they finish at, and that's the story. There's no like jumping from one title to the other title, and half the time the stories are like barely finished, or like they're broken up into such small pieces and all of that stuff. Like there's just, you can actually read a full story. So that's kind of one big one for me, because that's always, even as a young kid, that was always something that I didn't really love. Like I'd read a comic and it's like it's just too small of a piece, like I couldn't get into it. Like I have to wait a whole nother month before I read like another small little piece.
Yeah, so they're not rebooting characters. They're not, making 7 different titles for the same character. They're focusing. I think that's the problem for us is they're focusing on their goal. They have this character, this universe, and they focus 100% on that. Whereas over here, the comics are they're making it's a revolving door of ideas, and they like the consistency. They kind of had that more in the '80s. It seemed like with their story arcs and stuff. But then nowadays they were rebooting the DC universe and the Marvel universe, and it's like you're kind of getting ADD with it, and you need to chill and focus on your core and build good stories around that, because that's what they're doing. Their whole stuff revolves around the story. Ours just revolves around what's hot, what new thing we can sell now, and they're losing control of it, I think. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the story, that's the thing, is when it all comes down to it, comics are about the story. And if the story's, convoluted, who's going to want to stick around,
I couldn't even tell you how to start. If I wanted to get in the comics like right now, I wouldn't even know where to start to get into a story.
Yeah,
you got 7 different books you got to lead into to get to the main story.
Yeah, certainly not with the main 2. It would be kind of tough. So there's that. What else is there? There's a bunch of like different things that kind of make manga work. I think part of it is they're not focused only on one genre. That's kind of a big part of it. Like the reason why there's not more people coming in is because there's only so many people who are going to want to get into superhero stories.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's expanding now in America, but not really with the big 2. too much. But there's that. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that we can learn from manga, and it's interesting to keep thinking about that and keep trying to do different things. And I think probably again, the best person who's really a good example of this is Peter Samedi. He's doing you know some things, but at the same time, like there's only one of him, and he's going to do his thing. But I think we need to start learning from his example and doing our own thing too. So. Um, that's kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'd love to get a book in with Alterna as well, but until I can get to that point, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm taking a lot of the stuff I've learned from him and other people, and I'm trying to make it work in my own way. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we just gotta have. I don't know, it's nice to have the community. That's for sure. That helps. One man can't do it by themselves. It's always good to have a community to support you.
absolutely, and even when it comes to like the comic skate stuff, like whether you agree with the whole comic skate stuff or not, you can one thing that you can see, and I mean it's kind of partially it's a little bit debatable, but one thing you can see is kind of one format that kind of works. And I think there's things that can be learned from like what people like Ethan Van Sciver and Doug TenNapel have done on a business level, and even just on their live streams, like and things like that. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't watched either of their live streams for a long time, for a good couple months now, I think. But that's just me because whatever. But I'm just watching other stuff. But whatever, that's fine. But one thing is I've learned from their live streams, and I'm probably not doing it even close to as well as they do it, but there's certain ways that they talk, and that it's just interesting, like whether they're talking about comics or something else, or like it just keeps you interested. So they're doing something with their audience there that I think is helpful. And also the fact that they put their audience first and they don't like put their audience down. That's a big deal too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I haven't watched their live streams in quite a while. I've kind of geared toward, your live stream kind of stuff, and like, Good Dog Press and all these other smaller channels, just trying to, meet people that way, and kind of just, because I don't like getting around the drama. Personally, it's boring after a while. You get tired of it, and it just goes nowhere. Obviously, it never goes anywhere. But yeah, they're business wise, they've definitely got great ideas, and to learn from that is definitely key for us. But it's just for me nowadays, just interacting with other artists, because that's the one thing growing up that I didn't have, and around where I'm at, the only artists I know are online. So to do the live streams is so much more fun, and it's a better way to interact for me. I think that's kind of where it's going to for artists, is doing a live stream. It just seems to be the path it's going. These hangouts and stuff, they're so much more fun than just watching somebody.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to it. There's a lot of business models out there, and I definitely think this is one of the good ones. So yeah, I don't know. And also another thing that I've learned from the comic skate stuff is it's kind of okay to it's okay to sell your wares a little bit. Like I think artists are very hesitant to do that kind of thing, to self promote and all that. And it doesn't really have to be like super complicated or anything. It's okay to mention your stuff, and maybe be a little bit aggressive with it, to the point where you're like, you're just making sure people know about it, and I hear that from Peter Samedi as well. He talks about how people are so hesitant, and they wonder why they're not getting any traction, but then they never really mention their stuff, so there's kind of a reason.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one of the biggest things for artists, is their confidence. their self-esteem regarding their art, because I don't know, art's very, I mean, unless you're doing it for a living and you've had enough experience, it's very individual, and you're very protective of it, and you're very I don't know, insecure about it, and to promote yourself, you almost feel guilty or dirty about doing it, but you kind of have to. If you're gonna make it, you've got to get it out there, because there's gonna be somebody who wants to buy your stuff, and it just goes from there, you know.
But nobody else is gonna help you sell your stuff.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think part of the hesitancy comes from like this thing where, like, if you're like a plumber, I think everybody always goes to the plumber example, but if you're like a plumber or any other kind of trade where you make something, you know, you're like, your kind of philosophy and you know, who you are is not wrapped up into your product. You just go in there, you provide a service, and you do it. When you're an artist, that is not the case. You know, everything that you are is kind of wrapped up in it, whether it's deep or it's just fun, you know, whatever it is. There's a lot more wrapped up into your product than just a service, you know. So I think that's kind of why we get caught up, because it feels a little dirty, you know, if we're trying to get money for something that's kind of an intimate thing to us, you know.
And it's something that we enjoy doing, you know. We're creating art, so we kind of feel weird about people paying for it. And, you know, plumbers, they, you know, I don't think artists, like for ourselves, we don't really provide a service so much as we provide a leisure. And to get people to buy that, you feel kind of weird about, oh, well, you know, it's just something I drew. You know, well, you don't have to pay for it. It's something I did, but it is. It's a skill that we develop, and we do create something, and someone wants to enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with making a living or money off of it.
Yeah, for sure.
The problem I have is usually if it, oh, sorry, Mersh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead. My point wasn't all that interesting.
Oh, the only problem I have in mentioning my art and like basically getting the word out is just that on social media, it's not really welcome to do commercialized stuff. Like to mention, like you can mention, hey, I'd love that, whatever it was. But if you say, hey, you can buy that here, people take that differently. People take that as you're kind of wasting their time if you're just trying to sell them stuff. But if you just mention something you like, they're like, hey, yeah, that's cool. He likes that. I might check that out too. It's a fine line between a commercial and content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a good point. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry, I've been talking too much.
Well, I was just gonna say that mine's quick, anyways. I was just gonna say, you know, I've always thought it would be really cool to, like, at a convention or whatever, to have somebody, almost like maybe even a fan, somebody who you know likes your stuff or whatever, have them behind the table with you and have them tell people, you know, about your comic, because it sounds like, I feel like I'd be able to sell my friend's comic better than I'd be able to sell my own comic, you know, because when you're selling your friend's comic, you're not bragging. When you're selling your own, it feels like you're bragging, you know.
Yep, that's true. I mean, I've done several conventions, and it's exactly the truth. They're really intimidating when you do your first convention, and you're sitting there at the table, and you're not looking up, you're not really engaging with people because you feel weird about it, you know, because you got your book, and you're like, you know, I just want to leave it here, so they'll, you know, if they see it, they'll pick it up and look at it. But, you know, most time people don't do that unless they're there for somebody specific or someone who's known. You know, you have to put that foot forward, and you have to engage them and talk to them about your product. You have to pitch it to them. And then people want to be pitched to. You know, unless you're aggressive, they want to know what you've got, because they're there to see books. They're there to see comic books and art, so they want to see what you got. So it's just how you approach them. But after a while, you kind of get over that, and you kind of get more comfortable with talking to people about what you're selling. So it's actually a personal fear, I think, that you have to get over once you do a couple conventions. And once that's passed, then it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let me check the chat again real quick and see if we're catching up here. Well, people are retracting their messages.
Uh-oh.
I take back everything I said on this show, by the way.
Uh-oh. You already rang the bell. You can't unring it. Let's see. Oh, wow. I wish that the chat would just stay where I was at. It, like, moves by itself, so I have to, like... Okay, I think I see where I stopped. Daniel says he's got a few samples of line style on his Twitter page, which is Cocas, COCAS 144 _ Daniel. So check that out. You know what, Daniel? I'm gonna put your Twitter in the description for the replay because you are an awesome person who's always on my stream, and I really appreciate that. So I'm gonna throw that in there. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. And actually, now that you kind of bring that up, that was something I did want to talk about as well. And it's interesting, like picking and choosing style. Like, I mean, you know, I don't necessarily want to get into a big discussion on style exactly, but I've been thinking recently that I think I want to get almost like intentionally do a more cartoony style. I tend to like to noodle a lot, and that kind of makes me spend way too much time on things. But that's not the only consideration. I notice, like, when I do a cartoony style, I actually just enjoy drawing better. Like, I have more fun with it, and I feel like I can play around with things a little bit better. So I've actually been moving a little bit more towards a less rendered style and a little bit more cartoony.
You might be your art style is evolving. Then you're kind of I've noticed with my stuff it evolves without me even thinking about it. It just kind of goes in a direction. That's one thing about it. I mean, that's if it's comfortable and it feels good, then it seems like it's going in the right path.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to have to feel like you're working on something. You want to be enjoying what you're doing, and I think less is more. If you can get away with it and do it, you know, less is more with art.
Especially with the pace, and I mean, there are considerations that are more like almost practical and stuff too. I mean, there's like even business considerations of why I would change it. I mean, I think I'll always do rendered stuff from time to time when I feel like it, but you know, it is just also like the internet is a fast-paced place, and you're kind of battling for attention at any given time if you're trying to make anything, you know, useful of it as far as business goes and stuff. And so if you can focus on like I see some of my friends who do like exclusively a cartoony style, and I'm like, man, I would get so much more done if I just toned down my style a little bit. So there is that kind of consideration as well.
Yep. Pumping out as much as you can seems to be the way to go nowadays. The more you have out there, the more exposure you're going to get from that. And I don't have that production timeline. I can't draw that fast. It takes me a little while to do stuff. I can thumbnail all day, but you know, detail. I usually end up going pretty detailed with my stuff, and I kind of get lost in it because, like you're saying, you start noodling on something. That's me. I'll noodle the heck out of something and not even think about it.
Yeah, it's tough to not. I should say it's easy to get into that trap for sure.
Yeah. It's almost like a form of meditation. You kind of fall into it, and like cross hatching for me, I can zen out on cross hatching for hours and not even realize what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hey, give me 2 seconds, guys. I gotta go on mute for a minute. I gotta do a little bit of work here. I'll be right back.
Yep, no problem.
That's the problem with what we do is you do a piece of art. That might take you a week. It takes somebody 3 minutes to enjoy, and then they're like, okay, what else you got? It's like, So that's why all my feeds, like my Facebook, my Instagram stuff, they're entertainment feeds. I post like pictures of cool stuff I own, pictures of retro stuff in between my art. It's basically I'm stalling like, yes, there's art coming here, have this. No, and they're like, okay, that's cool. Okay, have that. And I'm still like trying to work on art until I can hand them some more art.
Yeah, yeah. And that goes into something else I'm interested to talk about too. But I'll just let me just try to catch up with the chat real quick. So Mike says, just like anything, there are exceptions in general, though the major manga, yeah, that's true. It is just an exception for sure. Manga publishers just crank out hundreds of books in the same basic style. They're like sitcoms and soap operas there. Yeah, there's definitely that. And I think that's actually what I want to get away from with American comics and manga, like the sitcom soap opera thing. Like, I think there's just too much of that. Like, if people want to do that, that's totally fine. But I think I'm kind of done with that. I just want to read a story. Like, I want to read a good comic story. That's, you read the full thing and you're done, and it was great. And then if they have a sequel, cool. But the sequel will be its own separate story as well.
That's why I think Alterna's doing the right thing when they, like, even if, let's say they hired you and they're like, okay, we want to publish your comics from now on. But what we're going to do is do a 5-issue series. And then later on, we'll do a 3. And then later on, we'll do something else. Because then it's not, okay, we just want continuous content from you. It's like, okay, no, we want stories from you. So it's better that way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of the mini series and stuff like that. I mean, that's how Image kind of started. They were doing those miniseries first to see if people were, I guess, into it, or I don't know what they were trying to do, but maybe they should have just kept going that route, because that was a good route. And now they kind of do some stuff like that too now. So it's a good route, I think. Daniel says, when I was young, Portuguese TV had lots of anime manga shows. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Mario's from Portugal too. We didn't really have too much in America. Mike says, you can read stories ranging from erotica to tennis. It's wild. I can't get into any of it, but it's fascinating. Put it this way, like, this is what's crazy to me. There is a manga about cooking. And mind you, there is like an erotic kind of flair to it to a certain degree. But there's a manga about cooking that makes more money than Batman in America. Like, it's just like, we're doing something wrong.
Coming next month, the new comic you've all been waiting for, Batman Makes a Sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we have to do cooking books, but
that's like, a one-panel thing though. He'll be just like, Alfred, give me a sandwich. Okay, there's the panel. All right, Batman made a sandwich.
Yeah. Daniel says, art is made of a lot of people at the same time that needs a house style to stay. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, the house style. Let's see. Willie Reed. Hello, friends. What's up, dude? Thanks for popping in. Let's see.
And I'm gonna change your show into a chain letter. The last person that didn't watch to the end of this whole video, their hot water heater leaked all over their basement. So I'd watch the whole thing, guys. I would. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Watch the whole thing. That's funny. Somehow, okay, here we go. Mike says, once Ethan short-circuited and got stuck in SJW Star Wars loop, I lost interest. Yeah, I mean, that before this whole thing happened where he was like, where he was doing the Cyberfrog Indiegogo, he was just doing this, I even commented, I'm like, and I get it, he was getting way more traction on his YouTube with that than, with actually making comics and stuff. But to me, that's just not a route I'd be interested in taking. I love Star Wars, but I don't need to talk about it every day. But so I was the same way. I lost interest, and then the Comicsgate thing, and he was doing Cyberfrog and stuff. I checked it out again, and I did actually enjoy the live streams and stuff, and I was interested in Cyberfrog. So I kind of got into it again, but then again, it got out of control, and I mean, Kevin here was talking about it too. Like, he kind of got bored of it, and I just same thing here really. Like, they're putting out tons of content, like every day. Multiple people are putting out 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour live streams, and it's just like, first of all, I can't keep up with all that. Second of all, I just don't care that much.
Yeah.
I just want to make my own comic, and I have a lot of other interests. So
the problem with being controversial is if it's a controversy where most things are, there's 50-50. Well, okay, half your audience is going to love it and listen every time as you say the same stuff over and over, and the other half is never going to listen to your stuff again. Why do that when you're making art? Like, just look at my art. Doesn't matter if I voted for Nixon. Here's ours. Guess what? Ours.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
So I find it kind of uncomfortable when somebody goes, "Here's my art, and guess what? Representative did the wrong thing in the House today." I'm like, am I getting two channels on the same signal here? Like, do I need to get the cable guy in? I don't know what's going on here.
That's funny.
Yeah,
absolutely. Mike says, I will always be a huge fan of Doug TenNapel, though. He was the biggest influence on me as a kid. That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Oh, man, the stuff he has made. Like, and okay, I need to say, everybody knows him for Earthworm Jim. Look up Project Geeker. It's the greatest cartoon of the whole 90s. The greatest cartoon of the whole 90s is Project Geeker. And he did it.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, he's worked on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not really familiar with much of his stuff. I do remember Earthworm Jim. And I remember thinking it was really cool. I think I played it a little bit. And that's the show I
keep going back to all the time to draw more characters from, because it's just fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, I found out about all these other things he's done. Like, I want to get into them. I just haven't been able to get my hands on much of it yet. But I'm definitely interested in his stuff. He's a big inspiration to me, and also the spiritual side. I can't help, he probably has. I probably wouldn't say the same things that he says sometimes, but he kind of has a pretty close, like, the stuff he talks about with his faith and stuff is very close to how I feel as well, or believe as well, as far as, like, I'm not talking about the social, like, kind of certain there's certain topics I'm not talking about, but as far as just the basic foundation and understanding of faith, like, that's very similar to my faith as well. But let's see. Mario says, do I need to get high or drunk to finish this cover I'm doing? Today is not my day. Oh, man, I feel you, man. Some days it's not working, and, I don't know. Maybe you do need to get high or drunk. No, I don't know.
Try them both.
Try them both. See what happens. I know for me, like, if I were drinking, I would stop working.
I've only done one piece of art loaded drunk one time, and it was okay, but I was like, that's really interesting. It's not like anything I do. It's not, I don't know. I was just like, yeah, it's not going to work. I'm not going to get loaded and start doing art anymore.
Oh, I came back just in time.
There we go.
Oh, man.
Kevin just downed like 3 shots and came back to us, probably.
There we go. Drunk art. He pops his head up like a meerkat. Oh, did somebody say drunk art?
We're drinking? Who's drinking? I'm drinking.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, there has, I mean, maybe there has been and I haven't seen it, but I'm surprised nobody's done any, like, YouTube channels where they drink and do art, or whatever, and do art.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to get anything done. It started out good, then I'd get mad at it and I'd fight it. I throw it away.
I'm serious about my drinking. If I'm drinking, I'm focusing on drinking.
Yeah, I can't be distracted with art.
Yeah.
I can be focused on drinking.
Daniel says get high on coffee. Willie, Willie Reed says, "I'm an artist, not a businessman." Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing.
Oh,
I
that's the
think
universal
that's
pride.
how a lot of us tend to
Yep.
feel at the start. But I don't know. It really depends on what you want to do. Like, not everybody wants to do business. For me, I do want to do business, and I actually enjoy the business aspects as well. So it's to each his own. When it comes to that.
But if you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, like it or not. That's just how it goes.
You've got to be one. You've got to focus on that side just as much as your art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I
you'll
mean,
be a great artist.
It's a hobby, though. I just want to say that some people do want to just do it as a hobby, and that's totally okay too.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's perfectly fine too. But you're gonna have a hard time if you want to make that money. You're gonna have to cross that line and become somewhat of a business person.
Yeah, eventually, if you love art and if you're good at it and if you put time into it, you're going to want that time to actually, have some kind of monetary benefit because guess what? Everything costs money. That's just why. It's not because, it's not some master plan. It's just, well, to live, I need money. And if I want to spend this time on my art, then that time needs to kind of make some money. That's how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, these are, grown men thoughts,
Oh no, I'm going back to my childish thoughts. Then never mind.
So Mike says, Marsh, I propose an alternative. Dig deeper into studying realism so that it becomes easier and faster to be able to abstract forms. I totally get what you mean. I mean, I think I'll always, in my sketchbook, be playing around with realism and stuff, and I might even, dig deeper into it for projects. So, I mean, I agree. Learning, understanding anatomy and all these different, just being able to draw like things in a realistic way. I mean, that's literally it's studying and it's understanding the form so much better, and all that stuff totally informs cartooning and doing it in a more simplistic style. I feel like when I'm cartooning that I need to do more studies that are more detailed because I don't know the form good enough to simplify it like you're saying. So I totally agree. So it's really kind of both, but I think as far as the stuff that I'm putting out as finished products for people to read and see and stuff, I think it's not necessarily that I'm focusing on a cartoony style as much as I'm allowing myself to do a cartoony style, because I think that's kind of part of what it was. Is I wasn't, I grew up in the '90s with the Todd McFarlane and all that stuff, and the kind of stuff they did, and I couldn't help but want to draw kind of like that, even though their stuff, when it comes down to it, technically isn't the greatest. But it was interesting visually and got me excited. So that I kind of got into that mode of working for a long time, and I think it's almost like exercising old habits, trying, not exercising, but like trying to get rid of old habits that hold me back from being productive, and so I think that's kind of where I'm coming from with that a little more. Mike says, same idea, longer process to get there, but a better result in the end. Yeah, absolutely. You can tell people who have a very strong basis in the fundamentals with art and who don't, and people, you can't just kind of take the shortcut of never like learning from drawing from life and make you. I mean, you can actually, you can. There are people who do it, but you can tell they're taking shortcuts, and when it comes down to it, they're very limited in what they can do with their cartooning because they haven't studied. They haven't done a lot of stuff like that. So I totally agree in that way.
Yeah, because under a cartoon style, no matter how simple it is, there still is a foundation of knowledge on how to draw the forms correctly.
Yep, absolutely. Mario says, I'm so used to realism that it's a problem to do simple stuff. Yeah, that's where I'm at, Mario. Well, to a certain degree. I mean, if anybody looks at my art, they actually will see more cartoony stuff than realism. But I can't help but noodle. I always find myself noodling way too much, and if you give me the time and I'm not thinking about it, I'll go into realism real quick. So for me, it's like it's hard to get to the simple stuff, even though I do it all the time, which is weird. But I don't know. James is here. What's up, James? How you doing?
Plus, there's a wide range of cartoony style. Like all my stuff is cartoony, but there's cartoony from like Tiny Toons, and then there's cartoons like from Visionaries, and it's two totally separate styles too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody, Daniel said bat sandwich.
There we go.
There we go. It's the new.
It's gonna be a comic.
New comic, man. Mike says, I think a realist has a much better foundation to approach abstraction compared to someone whose whole approach starts from abstraction. Yep. It's kind of
a guy who does realistic can adapt to a different style better than somebody who does a simpler style trying to make it more complex.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Because you can't add what you don't know, but you can always take away from what you have. You know, so if you can draw realism, you can simplify those forms down to, you know, shadows and shapes without having to put all that detail into it.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but my teacher when I was a kid was Rob Liefeld. He's the one that got me into comics when I was young, and I'm like most beginning artists, you always try to copy what you see. So that was me trying to mimic art styles and stuff, and I never understood the foundation of line work or you know, stick figure and the bubbles and so forth. And for years I just would sketch what I saw, and I think I was like, I don't know, 10 maybe 12, and then I had my grandmother buy me like this little how to draw art book, little stapled 5x7 little mailer book, and it was horrible art, but he taught the foundations of doing the bubbles, and that's how I learned. I basically taught myself or retaught myself how to draw correctly by using the bubble foundation method. I'm sure it's called something else, but I still use that today, and I think you've got to learn that stuff somehow. You got to learn it, you know, either by life drawing or someone showing you. But I credit my ability to draw from that little $7 book in the back of a comic book that I got.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
I mean, Liefeld was definitely huge for me. I mean, I still love Liefeld, but you know, if I were learning how to draw from him, then I would be. I mean, I did copy his stuff for sure, but you know, if that was all I had, then I would not be in a good place probably. Maybe I'm not in a good place. But that being said, probably the main place where I really learned how to draw as a kid was how to draw comics the Marvel way. And as much as that is very much like a propaganda piece, it was great. It had great drawing lessons, especially for beginners, you know, and it talked about how to break down, you know, things into forms, and it talked about gesture, and it talked about layout, and composition, and all these very important things. And you know, that's a great foundational book actually for learning how to draw. I definitely say that would be probably the biggest thing that helped.
No, yeah, it's a great book. It's hard to top that book. Actually, it's like the concrete foundation for drawing. If you want to get into it, that's the first book you should go to and kind of learn how to do what they do, because it's a good book. I've actually got that. I got it at a yard sale like years later, and I still kind of refer to it sometimes.
Absolutely. James. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. James says Blacklist and Elliot Fernandez are as controversial as I like to watch. EVS is way over the top, in my opinion. And Doug is hysterical. Yeah. I think to me EVS he's like the Rush Limbaugh of comics. And, like there were times in my life where I actually watched or listened to a lot of Rush Limbaugh, and I kind of dug it. But now it's not in my taste at all. There's too much. I'm not interested in kind of making fun of people, and that happens a lot. And EVS does that kind of thing too. So yeah, I'd agree that it's a little bit too far for me. Generally. Mario says, "To hell with the cover today. I'm drinking red wine and relaxing with you guys." Awesome, man. I'm glad that we can provide a service of relaxation.
That's funny.
Daniel says, "It's the day of the Lord. No work, just getting drunk." Nice. I wouldn't put it that way, but okay. Willie says, "A drink and draw." Yeah, I guess it is. And then Daniel says, "Drunken quartered," or "drunken quartered?" question mark. Yeah, there you go. I do have a beer in the fridge. Eventually I plan on getting it out today and having it with lunch, but I wasn't planning on doing it on this stream. It's only one beer though. Let's see. Oh, Mario says, "New challenge, get drunk and draw. I'm in. Let's make it viral." I know, right? That would be fun. That's not going to be my thing, but I do think it would be fun to watch.
Those are always good. It's fun to hang out with people and do the little drink and draw convention and stuff. That's always fun. I don't get this drawing done. I do more socializing than anything else.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. James, I haven't had a drink in years. It messes with my diabetes too much. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have health problems where they can't drink anyways. So, let's see. I used to drink a lot of beer, but I don't. It's so rare that I even get beer. I happened to get some last night because I just wanted some. But I like to have it with a meal. Like it's really good with certain meals. Certain beers are better with certain meals and stuff. So I dig that. Ah man, I lost the thing. Okay, here we are. Daniel says on End it. My liver, too much curry and hot sauce, so it's peachy liver. Okay. Yeah. Don't hurt your liver, man. Mario, I do what I have to do to stop the pain in my hands. Painkillers don't work 100%, but I'm thinking of alternatives. Yeah, man, pain is tricky. My wife has chronic pain, and no pain meds touch her pain at all, and it's really rough. So I feel you, man. I mean, I haven't gone through it, thank God, but I hate to see my wife go through it, and anybody, Let's see. Oh, Mike says to Mario, "It sounds counterintuitive, but try massaging the crap out of your forearms. I just went through 6 months of hell with my drawing hand. It turned out to be coming from higher up in my arm." I've been having some issues with my arms too, and I'm actually curious. Like, I want to find out like what exercises people. I'm all right now, but what exercises people, have to like maintain, their hands and arms, especially as artists, doing a lot of artwork. I'm sure there's things we can do. And it sounds like massaging your arms that helps. I also used ice, which actually did help a little bit, surprisingly. So yeah. Willie says, "I love me some Liefeld. Always have, always will." Cool. What Daniel says, Liefeld, no feet allowed. Yeah, he's got the Illuminati feet. His feet are always behind everything. So there you go. I'd rather be drawing. I'd rather be drawing people are here. What's up? turns out everything is stick figures of basic shapes. Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, unless you're, I mean, there's a couple different ways people approach drawing. One is just draw what you see, and then the other is like using construction lines. And yeah, when you're doing the construction lines, that's really what it all comes down to. Mike says, push on your arm while wiggling your fingers, the area you feel moving around the most. Go to town on it. Have someone else dig in there with the blunt end of a butter knife every day. Wow. No, that's interesting. I mean, it sounds funny, but I bet, you know, I think he's being serious. Like, that really makes sense, actually, you know, kind of figuring out where the pain is coming from. It's interesting.
Sounds like some kitchenware shiatsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're, I don't know, you guys do, like, what your preferred medium is? Have y'all jumped into digital artwork yet?
Yeah, I'm kind of new to it. Well, to a certain degree, I'm somewhat new. I recently got, you can see, maybe you can see, I recently got the screen tablet here, Gallimon, and I really enjoy it. I'm still very much more comfortable with traditional, but it's great for, I'm so happy to have it, especially for coloring. And then, yeah, I did make one comic digitally, and I'm the anthology, the 100s anthology, I plan on doing digitally as well. So I'm still not used to drawing on it, but you know, I'm glad I have it, and I want to get used to it.
Yeah, you will. I think the more you do it, the more you may get into it. I mean, I went straight digital a couple years ago, and that's all I do now. I don't even draw traditional unless it's a sketch card or a commission request, and even then, commission request is done digitally and then printed off, and I hand ink it. But digital is the way to go for me. It's so much more user friendly. I think that was my problem with traditional, is I would hold back on so many things when I had to, you know, put it on paper because it's permanent. With digital, I can experiment while I go. I think it's my thing is I experiment while I draw, so you know things will change as I get through a panel or something. So digital works so much better for me.
Yeah, I do all my stuff digital too. Well, I do my pencils traditional, and then everything after that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah. I used to do that. I used to scan it in, and then finally I just switched over. Like I do most everything now on a Surface Pro 4 and Clip Studio.
That's cool. Do you make prints at all? Because my problem, like, I love Clip Studio, and that's what I tend to use. I still use it, and I will. But when it comes to coloring, it doesn't work in CMYK. Like, you can export, but like, I tried to print some stuff that I made that I colored in it, and it just doesn't come out even close to right, you know? So trying to figure out some other way to kind of work around that. I know Krita has CMYK, so I'm thinking of trying to color in Krita. The only thing is it's like, you know, Clip Studio's just got so many awesome tools for coloring, so I just wish they would have CMYK support.
I haven't really done much color in Clip Studio. I usually transfer it over to Photoshop and do it. I bought an old version of Photoshop CS3, and then I just do all that through there for the most part. I'm not a big colorist, though. I don't like to color my own things. I'm not really good at coloring, so what little I do it all through Photoshop.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a huge color. I'm more of a drawer and inker, I guess, but I do like to color, and I would love to pass that, you know, over to somebody else, but obviously, you know, being kind of an indie dude, I don't have that luxury, at least not yet.
That's the same reason why I color.
Yep. Financial.
Yeah, who else is going to do it? That's why I color. I'm no colorist, but I need one, so and I know where the colors go. That's all I can do.
Yeah. I've kind of decided I'm going to focus on what strength I do have, and that's just going to be penciling and inking, and then have to find some way to get it colored. Though I do have a colorist that I use, and you know, it's not cheap, but his stuff is amazing. It works perfectly with what I do. So I'm going to try to continue to use him if I can afford it.
Yeah. That's cool.
I find I've actually gotten better at it just because I've been doing it, I don't know, 5 years now since I switched to digital. And I color because, you know, people will enjoy it more if the colors are there. So I know where to put them, but I'm not a colorist. But every once in a while I go, hey, that was actually, I did a decent job on that one.
I find that I'll start coloring something and I'll start like a, you know, basic comic book coloring, and then it diverges into a painterly thing. I'm like, I'm not painting. I'm trying to just color. I always do that. It ends up being totally different than what I try to plan, you know, start out with. I'm like, this is frustrating.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of describing when I was saying that, you know, I tend to go more on the realism side sometimes, and that's what happens. Like, I mean to go cartoony, and then I end up, like you said, like painting. It's just like, no, stop.
Yeah, it comes out okay. I'm not no painter by no means, but I want to stick with just comic book coloring, you know, the cell shading style. That's what I want to do. I got to just focus on that more when I'm doing it, so I don't get sidetracked.
Yeah.
I have the benefit and problem of most of who I draw are known characters. And if I'm going to draw somebody that I love from a cartoon, people already know his colors. So I can't, unless I want to really deviate. But I mean, if I want the likeness from the show, my colors are pretty set anyway. So it's easier because I'm just dropping the colors where they go instead of coming up with them.
Yeah. I find that I get stuck on like the materials, like the costumes, and trying to decide, you know, spandex versus cloth and how the light radiates, and that's where it ends up becoming a daggone paint job and not a coloring job. I'm like, oh, there's shadow here. I need to make this shadow, and then there's texture. I'm like, oh my gosh, just quit.
It's like, I just want regular coloring. I'm not trying to be Alex Ross here, but it always leans that way.
Yeah, same way. Start noodling on it too much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Well,
I've been penciling all this time, and I wasn't sure. I'm never sure until I get to a certain point. But yeah, my next piece of art's definitely Slide from Thundercats. He's coming along good.
Nice. I'm on my phone, so I can't show anything that I've got going on. I don't have any internet connection besides my phone.
Yeah, I use my phone for most things. Luckily, right now, I guess my computer's working, but so that's a good thing. But yeah, my phone tends to be more powerful than the actual computer.
Oh yeah, the same here. I mean, I can share on Google, you know, Google Hangouts on my Surface Pro, but I can't, for some reason, get my microphone to work. I don't know what's going on with that. So I don't know. Probably an update I need to do on the drivers or something.
Yeah.
Some kind of jazz like that.
Daniel says save as PSD and open on Krita later to convert CMYK. Yeah, I'll try that. It's something I've been meaning to mess around with and try, for sure. Mario says I did digital a few times, didn't like it, but it was on a Samsung 10-inch 2014 edition. I heard about the new Cintiq 16, and it looks like it's like drawing on paper. I'll give digital a chance with that. Yeah, having that feeling to draw on paper sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've got a 13 HD, and I had to buy. They make like screen protectors that have a little bit of tooth to them, so you have a little bit of friction when you're drawing, so it feels a little bit more like you're doing something on a piece of paper than just doing it directly on glass. So it was pretty nice. They do make nibs and stuff for the Wacom's to mimic a pencil tip or paper texture. So they understand that's a issue for artists. They want to have that traditional feel to their artwork when they're doing it.
Right. For sure. Devontae Edwards, how you doing, man? He says, I'm learning to use colors more when I draw. That's cool. That's the thing too with digital is there's so many, like, I don't know, that there's so much to it, but there's like a lot of different approaches you can take. You don't have to worry about, like, will this pen bleed if I put like watercolors over it, or you know, because you have all the layers. But at the same time, you kind of have too much options sometimes, which actually messes me up. Like, some people say that using the computer makes it quicker for them, and for me it actually makes it longer, because there's too many considerations, and you have to make a lot of choices, and you know, that stupid undo button, and like, keeping track of layers and stuff. Like, I actually have more difficulty, you know, trying to do digital. I want it to be better, but it hasn't yet proven to be.
Yeah, that undo button is a blessing and a curse, because I find myself when I'm drawing on paper, I mess something up, the first thing that comes to my mind is Control Z. I'm like, I don't have that. I can't do it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Or like, you know, kind of selecting it and warping it and stuff to make it better and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I find myself drawing with Photoshop in mind. Like, I'll be drawing, and if I get somebody's arm kind of wrong, I'll just draw it next to the guy, and I'll be like, I'll just pop that on in Photoshop. Like, Photoshop's such a part of how I do it that the pencils aren't like, I'm like, well, this doesn't need to be a finished piece of art. This needs to be all the pieces I need to do it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've learned how to use Photoshop as an extension of your toolkit.
It really is. Even, like I said, even when I'm doing traditional pencils, if I mess something up, I'll just like, okay, I'll draw it in the corner of the page, and then I'll add that later, and just because I know I have magic powers in a few minutes when I get to Photoshop. So,
as they say, we'll fix it in post.
Yeah. And then a lot of people say, well, that's not the same when you have all this undo. Well, why wouldn't you use magic powers? Somebody's going to go, well, you're doing art. That's great. Do you want magic powers with that? No, of course not.
I mean, undo is just an eraser. That's all it is. It's
Exactly.
it's a clean way to erase and less destructive.
And taking something and warping it, I mean, you could technically do that, I guess, with scissors and a photocopier, and I don't know, however they used to do it. But I mean, yeah, you're just basically have this super easy way to adjust your stuff.
Well, they used to get water from a well, but now we got faucets. What's the difference?
Exactly.
I mean, why do we got to go to the well to get water? I can just go to my kitchen.
Yeah. I don't have to wait for it to rain and sit out with a bucket. No thanks.
Exactly.
So yeah, people that worry about Photoshop, no, Photoshop's magic. It's magic. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree that there's certainly no reason why we should, you know, avoid, you know, traditional or digital. But some people feel a lot more strongly about it, and that, you know, it's kind of not even real art and stuff, which, you know, whatever, it's cool if that's how they feel.
It's just kind of I don't know, how you do it and what you're used to.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But those people, if they gave it a chance, would benefit from having magical powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially, you know, change your workflow, make it better. You know, make time is money, as they say.
Yeah.
It depends on what your goals are too. You know, everybody just wants to do different things, so you know, it's cool. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Well, with me, I can't get the line quality. Like, I'm super OCD about smoothness of line, and there's no way that traditional line can get as smooth as I need it digitally. So that's why I do it digital. Just, it's the only way I can get the look I need.
Yeah, that's a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you get it. I don't like the super cleanliness of digital, so I like to have a little bit of grit in my line, but But you can get that with Manga Studio. That's what's so good about that program is you can get pretty much a traditional feel from a digital tool. Whereas Photoshop doesn't really give that, but Manga Studio is great for that.
Oh, that's interesting. I always felt like you could get it from, Photoshop too. I mean, I don't use Photoshop. I definitely prefer Manga Studio, but yeah, I don't know.
You can. It's just a little bit harder. You have to do a little more things. Primarily because the brush engine in Manga Studio is so much better than Photoshop's. That's probably one of the key things for this program is the ability to have different style brushes that actually work.
Yeah. I guess also I haven't worked enough probably in Photoshop to really see the differences. I actually worked in GIMP a long time before I was able to have any access to Photoshop, and then I ended up using Clip Studio over Photoshop most of the time, and a big part of it is because my computer just is too slow with Photoshop. It eats up too much processing power, so luckily Clip Studio is great when it comes to that. Most of the open source programs too, so it's like I don't know what Adobe's doing, but I think there's a lot of things they're not doing right, to be honest.
Yeah, they're Photoshop. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I was used to doing Photoshop exclusively, and then it's just too much of a resource burden on my computer. But Photoshop is really not for drawing. It's primarily for photo manipulation. So those tools and the resources that it needs, it's for that. And drawing is kind of secondary. But Clip Studio is primarily for drawing. So they built their program to be a lot lighter. I can run Clip Studio on a Surface Pro and it runs perfectly. Whereas Photoshop would kill my system.
It's interesting. I never thought of that aspect of it. That makes sense. Let's see. Oh, wow, man, my thing jumped again. All right. Let's see. Okay. Saw that. Daniel says, I do it all pencil, ink, and watercolors. That's cool, man. I love the look of traditional pencil, ink, and watercolors. It's one of my favorite aesthetics. Mario says, I have a question for you guys. Do you know who is doing comics like in the 70s style? I love comics from that time, but I can't find who does it. I think there's a lot of people who play with that style, but I don't know if I can think of anybody specific at the moment.
If you love a style,
yeah, exactly what style, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
If you love a style that you think is dying, make comics in that style, right, Marsh? Make comics.
True. That's true. Make comics.
Yeah, keep it alive.
I make comics in every style. I don't know if I have a style yet. I'd like to have a style. I actually prefer artists who have a style, but I don't know.
I've got one style. It's called barely getting it by.
There you go. It's funny because Mark Crilly did a video about style one time, and I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. And then I realized, like, as he was talking, he's like, I actually don't really have a style. Every comic I do is in a different style. And then I was like, you know what? That's true. Like, a lot of artists, even people who are, like, just independent, who I know, friends and stuff, like, I know it's their work when I see it. I have no clue. Like, if I saw a drawing from Mark Crilly, I would not know it was from him because he has, like, 10 different styles. And there's a few people like that. And I don't know, like, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. It's more versatile and you can maybe get more work that way. I don't know. But at the same time, I don't know. There's something cool about, like, seeing a Todd McFarlane and being like, I wonder what, Sailor Moon would look like in his style, or like something totally out of his wheelhouse. Like, I wonder what this would look like in his style. That's awesome to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Their style is their personality, their art personality. So it's like I love seeing. I mean, I love Liefeld's work. I love it more, his older stuff, but his style is very unique to him, and I don't know how you get a style. I feel like my style has kind of come from just drawing, and I look at stuff from like 15 years ago, and I can see similarities in it, but I can also see the differences too. But you're right. I mean, I love Jim Lee's style. I love McFarlane. I love Liefeld, and they're all unique. They're all different. So I think it's just an evolution of your drawing. I think you will get a style just from drawing. Your body, your mind will just develop certain ways of doing things, and then that becomes your style. I don't think you can force a style. I think it just comes naturally.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different ways to think about it. I think you can do both. I think you can actually like intentionally create a style, just kind of by looking at just figuring out what things you really like and want to draw like, and then just kind of copying those artists a lot just to practice and stuff. And then, but copy a lot of artists. That's the thing. Find a lot of artists you like, and eventually what you draw like will kind of come out of that. So you can kind of take that approach, but also like you're saying, just you don't even have to be that intentional about it. And I think this is how probably most artists are. They're not really super intentional about it, but eventually, they just end up drawing in some certain way that you can tell is theirs. That's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, you can force yourself to draw like a certain artist, but I don't think at that point you're developing a style. I think you have to let go from that, and your style will come from it. Because art clones are never really individuals in their style. They always have that look. They're always almost like a skewed version of an artist. Like David Finch is probably, he's a very common artist that you see people steal his style from. His cross hatching mainly, and his sharp lines, and his body figure, and his poses. So you can kind of tell a David Finch clone when you see one. And I don't think that's the style as much as it's just imitation. And like Jason Fabok is probably the one that comes to mind most recently. He learned from Finch. Finch taught him. You see a little bit of Finch in there, but you see way more of Jason. And I don't know. I think style came from him just doing it and learning it, and his natural skill developed into a style.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think my style right now is to not draw the wings on my winged pterodactyl creature, which is pretty sucky.
I mean, I could copy somebody's picture, but I wouldn't be able to draw like that later,
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. What else? Oh, man, I hate how it jumps. I'd rather be drawing, whether it's front porch blues, stomping, or synthesized and sampled music. As long as it's quality, I'm down. Same thing for art with me. Interesting. Mike says, I like using both. Add some jitter to your brush and slap a good paper texture underneath your colors, and most people can't immediately tell the difference. Yeah, I definitely am into techniques that make things look either old or, traditional, for sure. So many people thought I was doing traditional inks for my Space Cat concept art, but I don't have a single traditional Space Cat piece, Mike says. I do both though, so now I'm on a traditional kick again. Yeah, I like the idea of kind of going back and forth as well.
Yeah, it kind of gets things fresh again in your mind, and it shakes it up a little bit.
Absolutely. I'd rather be drawing. I would prefer to not have a specific style. I'd rather be able to just draw the way the story needs. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Like, that's like the cool part of not having a style, for sure. And I don't really know. I still am not decided on what I want. but I tend to lean more towards I kind of wish I had a style. I don't know that I have much control over it though. Mike says developing a style is like dropping a deuce. You shouldn't force it; just let it come out naturally.
Oh my gosh!
It's exactly.
Don't force it; you might hurt yourself.
Real classy there, Mike. Real classy.
That's funny. Mike, why are you not on this show? Like, I miss chatting with you, man. One of these days. Let's see. I know it's your day off too. Sunday is your day, from what you've said before in the past. Willie Reed says J. Scott Campbell was a Jim Lee clone, and now you can really see it's his own style now. A lot of people were Jim Lee clones, and that's true. You know, you can kind of start, and it's interesting too, like how some places, like I don't know, like you'll see a studio or maybe even a company or whatever who kind of puts out something, and you'll notice that all the artists have kind of a similar feel to what they do. And so it's interesting that sometimes there's almost like a not like a unsaid house style, and then eventually, like you said, like sometimes they start to kind of develop their own way of doing it, and you start to see different things, like almost like Extreme Studios when they first started. Like everybody kind of was a Rob Liefeld clone for the most part, and the one that I really liked that stood out to me was Dan Frega, who was actually on the show at one point, and I always liked his stuff more, I think, because of that. And he even says like he was actually much more of a fan of Todd McFarlane, you know, than Rob Liefeld. So that's kind of part of where he got his style. But you could tell like he kind of stood out. And you know, some other people came on later, like Stephen Platt and stuff, who just totally had his own thing. But you know, I don't know. It's just interesting to see how styles evolve, and sometimes, like you said, you start out one way, and you know, you find your own way, you know, through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody starts out with mimicking who they love, and then it just evolves. You just naturally evolve into your own style from there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what you're saying about the similar styles, that comes down, I think, to a business point. Is the business knows what style is selling, and they look to have something similar to that to kind of keep it going. Because if you have some drastic art styles, it kind of throws off the people, and it could hurt your product. You know, if you've got Jim Lee, all his books are selling, and you want to have artists who can be somewhat in that same realm as Jim Lee, because that's what sells right now. You know, and that was the thing with the Extreme Studios is they had styles that sold, and like Capullo, you know, he came on doing Spawn. I couldn't even tell a difference back when he started doing Spawn. I thought it was McFarlane, because his style was so similar to his. And you know, he's kind of got his own way now. He's kind of got a scratchy, loose feel to it. It's some of the best art that's out there right now.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting, some of the examples you brought up there too, and you know, I think it's funny because Capullo to me was not. I get what you're saying, because he did definitely kind of mimic McFarlane, but as soon as I saw him starting to come onto that book, that's when I was like, I don't think I'm interested in Spawn anymore, because I literally want Todd McFarlane's art. Like, I love his art. And, like, that's a big part of why. I mean, first of all, the stories aren't that great anyways, so like you can't take away the one thing that's keeping me on the book. But you know, other than that, you know, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
well, I mean, it's McFarlane. You know, Spawn was McFarlane. You never want to see someone else take over, you know, a product that you love that's created by a particular artist. You know, I'm just like it. I feel the same way. You know,
I remember. Yeah, I remember like when he came on the book too, and I'm just like, I didn't like it, and I remember like pretty much hating like Capullo's art. I was just like, I do not like it. And now come to, you know, full circle later, and it's just like, holy crap, best artist like ever in the industry, and I do like his stuff now a lot, and I almost would love to see him come back and do Spawn, you know,
Yeah.
because things have changed. But I also, you know, it's funny, like in Marvel, like when Jack Kirby left Marvel, they told all their artists, you gotta draw like Jack Kirby. Like, this is how we want you to draw. And that's exactly what they did, you know, for a while. And eventually they started, you know, kind of breaking from that. But
Yeah. And it's still going on today. You know, a lot of these artists, I mean, I can't even tell the difference between a lot of these artists
yeah,
without looking at their names, because it's just like, oh, that style's so very similar to so and so, and it's just part of the business, I believe. It just works.
and that's like, it's so weird because that's what bothers me. Like, because like everybody became Jim Lee clones for the longest time. It's still kind of going on, to be honest. And
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think I have a lot of respect for Jim Lee. I like his stuff. I definitely, you know, was excited about the X-Men when he restarted that and all that. You know, it is what it is, and I liked Wildcats and whatnot, but like his style is like, I don't know, it's kind of boring to me, you know, a lot of
Mhm.
times. It's just, it's almost too perfect sometimes, and I don't know, it's just like, it's not my favorite, so I wish that people wouldn't mimic him so much, but I think they see that as a standard of somebody who can draw well, so that's why they kind of gravitate towards it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's lost its luster for me. I still love his artwork, but it's just, I see it's just not what it was back from the '90s like it is today. I just feel like it's rigid, sharp. I'm kind of going towards artists like Daniel Warren Johnson and James Herron and Sean Gord Murphy. You know, those styles are a lot more dynamic for me, and I enjoy those a lot more than just the standard Jim Lee stuff. Mainly because Jim Lee's been around for like, what, 30 years doing this.
Yeah.
You see the same style over and over. But yeah, he's good. He's definitely a master of the comic book arts.
I'd rather be drawing says style is a mixture of education, what you can do, and all the mistakes you learn to live with. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Mike says I'll get up early one day. I think that's in response to doing doing a video. Yeah, because I usually do these during the week. If anybody's still here at all, um, who doesn't normally watch these early bird art casts, I tend to do them during the week, and I do them between about 5:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, which is way too early for any sane artist usually, but that's when I get up before I go to work, so that's when I do it. But luckily, I have plenty of UK friends who tend to come on from time to time while I'm doing it. So
Yeah, it's usually right around 7 a.m. Atlantic, which is exactly the time I have to leave for work.
there you go. So, and it is here. It's 12:17 right now, and you know what? I'll be honest. I think I'm ready to take off and get some lunch and relax a little bit. I mean, I'm going to be working on comics all for the rest of the day, anyways. But I think it's about that time.
Yeah, I got to get some stuff done too. It's been good. I got a lot of progress. I'd say I'm 80% done on this drawing.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well,
So,
I appreciate you throwing the link up there, man, in the chat. That was I'm glad I jumped on. This was fun, man.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to put links to you, Creed, and Kevin, and also Daniel, because we were chatting about that earlier, in the description. And anybody who has been on the Artcasters before is also always linked in these. So now you have a link in there forever.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, so people can check out the stuff. And I would encourage anybody to go check out Kevin and Creed and everybody's stuff as well. All cool artists and stuff. So thank you for coming on, guys. And thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys all rock. And anybody watching on the replay, thank you for watching. And we will talk to you next time.
All right. Take care, guys.
Later on.
Later, guys.
Later.